All right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Morning Rush, Wednesday edition of the show with me, Destiny Starboy, and Nanaya Tanwa Buachi. So this one, we're talking business, and we're just looking at how people can raise up their businesses onto international standards, world-class businesses, and also even thriving in these difficult times as we have in the country. What do you do as an owner of a businessman who employs a lot of people in your company? So this one, we have Lord IBRAHIM SANI joining us. He's the CEO of SANI Group of Companies. He's got over 24 subsidiaries across 8 countries and into a lot of sectors from real estate to aviation and a whole lot. So he's done that. And I mean, when it comes to these things, you need to hear from people who are established, who have done that over the years. And so that's why we have him here to talk to us this morning. Good morning, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Now, business in the first place, is everybody a business person? Should everybody be a business person?
No.
Okay.
Not everybody, no.
Why? But we can all learn and want to make money. So
you've got to be mad before you can be a businessman. You've got to have a little bit of madness in you to be able to do that, because I reckon it's not all normal for everybody to be successful in business. Anybody can start a business, but it doesn't mean everybody is going to succeed in being a businessman. So there has to be an iota of madness in you to be able to succeed in business. So no, it's not for everybody.
What was your moment of madness?
Oh dear, I go mad every day. Believe me, my staffs could testify to that. You do have an abnormal times of sleep. You make certain hardcore decisions, even against you, your own self, your own personality, your own soul, and even to the extent sometimes implicating your family. But that's how business has to be. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I'm not understanding the madness.
Yeah. You're not understanding the madness.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of young people are starting businesses, and obviously they want it to grow to a certain level, in the near future. From those small beginnings, and with your experience in there, what should they be doing to make sure that in the next 2 years they're still in business, and even better, in the next 5 years they're still in business and doing even better than the 2 years I mentioned? What really should they be doing to be able to grow their businesses?
Okay, so first, it's got to be a lot of honesty involved. Here in Ghana, a lot of people do lie a lot, so many lies all over. So for people to be actually stay in business, there's got to be a very straight up honesty within the youth, within everyone, within your suppliers, your manufacturers, your customer base and everything. If you have it, just say you have it. If you don't, you just say you don't have it. So one, there's got to be a lot of honesty involved. And then perseverance, I would say a little bit of perseverance. And then cutting costs. Anybody wanting to actually survive in business, there's always got to be that level of cutting costs. Always making sure you speculate into your accumulate by making sure you're actually going. It's never going to be easy, never at all. But then by keeping a very planning ahead in advance as well could help in a certain stage that could also eventually take you to the position you want to be. But then I will go for honesty and then that perseverance and cutting costs on all grounds.
What about discipline?
Discipline, I mean, it comes with the honesty and it comes with the determination as well. And I mean, if discipline will come, if you do know you have to wake up at 6 and you end up waking at 6:30, then obviously, eventually you're becoming indisciplined. Yeah. But sometimes you can hardly help it, God Almighty made about 8 hours for us to sleep. If you end up spending maybe 2 hours to sleep continuously for about a week, you end up sometimes, letting go and losing God to maybe sometimes get late in bed and stuff like that. So discipline, yes, but a level of it will be ideal for us. Yeah. Yeah.
But in a very competitive space, what would be the strategies you have to employ to differentiate your business from other competitors? Okay,
so it will always be price leadership and then quality of service. Here in Ghana, over time, I've come to notice that the customer base is very, very lacking. And then when it comes to business, you can see that there's a lot of knowledge deficit in this country. So at first, it's really about getting to know your product and what it is you wanted to get into. By so knowing, then you'll be able to gauge your competitors, and then therefore you can try and do your price leadership, price analysis, and then you can try and maybe do something very different. Because if all of us are selling this phone, then there's got to be something with me that people will come to me. So if your price leadership is good, quality of service, some little things in the customer retention would be ideal. In business, let's remember that people will always buy with emotion rather than what it is you have for them. So by actually responding to people's emotion, one way you're already there.
Yeah.
So that would also help in your ideal business operations.
You know, it was yesterday that came to my attention that one particular company, like a food app, that actually like provides service has actually left like the country. And I always say that when a business is going into a market, they do research the markets, identify some loopholes, and then they give that quality of service. Such a company, what would be the issue, or such a business, what will be the issue that will make such a company decide to let go of this market and then decide to take everything and leave? Okay. What is the cause of that situation?
All right. So to penetrate into a space that is not culturally yours, first you consider a lot of stuff. You consider currency depreciation, employment sectors, the government change over the stability of democracy and all that. So no doubt, Ghana is very good in terms of business and destinations and stuff like that. This country over the years, I may not go into details, but we can see a lot of decline in LCD depreciation. Yeah. A lot of companies are folding up. And as a result of the COVID that has come past, a lot of companies would in a position where we call floating. It's like they want to drown, but they don't want to drown. They just want something to hold on to. Yeah. So that's just how it is. So sometimes you hang on for so long. A lot of companies are pretending. They make us if they're doing well, but they know.
They're not.
Yeah. And it's only a matter of time. And then you see them go down the drain. But it's very sad in a position where you see that, things like that. Other parts of the world, when you see entities that are really doing well, you actually do see the government actually come in to actually push them on the way, by way of injecting funds or a huge capital injection. But we find ourselves in a position where you see here in this country, even the government itself is struggling to actually raise funds from abroad, let alone to be able to actually support businesses. So it's like here in Ghana, you are actually on your own as a businessman, you know. So it's really the survival of the fittest, really.
Yeah. But is the best solution to leave as a business when it's not going well and the market is not really conducive for you? Is the best option to leave?
Yes.
If the government is not even coming in, if there are no funds,
yes,
it's just to leave.
Yes, depending on your exit strategy in your business plan. Okay. Me, for instance, or us, for instance, our company, we are revolutionizing Africa. We have nowhere to go. We have come from a long way to come to this country. We already have a footprint in about 10 countries in here, this African continent. We don't have any plan of actually moving our headquarters abroad or anything like that. So we have this mindset that it's homeland or death. Okay. It's either we do it or we not. So we just have to sort of do ourselves like chameleon, you know, trying to re-strategize. Yeah, we are constantly reviewing our policies, constantly reviewing our processes and plans.
Great. That's good to hear. Back to entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and trying to read that. At what point does an entrepreneur says, I want to employ other people?
Okay, so for the employment here in Ghana, good luck to you, man, if you're an entrepreneur. There's a lot of there is a lot of hard work in going through the entrepreneurship. Yeah. You face a lot of issues, a lot of backlogs from laziness to dishonesty, all over the works. Now, at what point it really is a little bit dicey, but then when you realize that the income, because before you employ anybody, you've got to have some income coming in. Once you don't have any income coming in, it becomes an issue. That means you'll be relying on your own cash flow, where there may not be operational capital, you may have issues. So what then happens is you have to know that you have income coming in, and those income coming in after you take your operational capitals or and stuff like that, then you know this is how much is left to be able to know that I can employ. And then having to employ yourself doesn't have to be just employment for the sake of employing. Yeah. There has to be strategic employment. There are steps. Every business must have an SOP, standard operating procedure. So then if you do have your standard operating procedure, there are certain spaces you think you can do for free, just try and do it, you know? That's why many entrepreneurs have to work long hours. If you can do and occupy those positions to save you cost, you do it. And those ones you think you cannot do, you delegate with specialities and stuff like that, then you can do it. And then that will be able to compensate that angle. And the rest that you can do, you just do. As and when you do and continue and you see income keeps coming in, then you'll be offloading it bit by bit before you become them. Because you cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you continue to dive yourself into the business. At one point in time, you've got to stay back and be able to overlook things. In that case, if situations are going wayward, you'll be able to identify them, supervise, direct, and then deal with it as soon as possible.
Okay. But the laziness bit, is it you know, we've had this conversation on this set before that, you know, people say the youth are lazy, they say they are looking for jobs, when you give them jobs, and they are doing, is it really true?
Yes, of course it is true. That's what happens.
But is it the age range nowadays, or what is actually causing that?
Okay, so people here in this country, because of uncertainty of labor, there's not a lot of job going on. People come in with a desperation that they want a job. Ideally, they may not opt for that particular salary that you want to give them, but because they need a job, they will come begging you all that they want a job. Now, once they get paid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, then they begin to, it gets normal with them, because that's the human nature, right? They get used to it, then they feel like they're taking advantages of the situation that they have. Then things that they're supposed to be doing, then you see them laying back. It's very normal with every human nature, one way or the other. Assuming you're getting paid 20,000 cedis. That seems a lot to you right now, but let that continue for about a year. You tend to see like, oh, I'm already used to the 20,000. Maybe I can do much better. That's what happens with individuals. A lot of them.
Interesting to hear that. We were also talking to Lord IBRAHIM SANI about trying to build up your business to a different level, to the next level, to a world-class level. As we keep talking about that, as youth, I'm sure your era, of growth is different from the current dispensation we find ourselves in. What are some of the things that, as you speak to young entrepreneurs, you hear from them, and you're like, no, I don't think it should be like this? What are some of the things that strikes you, and you're like, no, this shouldn't be it?
Okay, so you do get a lot of young entrepreneurs talking about money, startup capital. But then it's not really about startup capital. It's really about connections and your networks. Assuming you wanted to supply this phone, sorry for using your phone. Assuming you wanted to supply this phone, you know a buyer. All you do need is just a level of honesty. You approach this seller or this manufacturer, you approach him, you get this on a credit basis, you give it to this person with the intention that you bring the money. But this person must know you will return the money. That is what there is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not really about money. It's about connections, about networks. That's all. That's why I did make mention of the honesty. If you are honest, you'll be able to go far in business. If you are not honest, it's only a matter of time. I mean, in every business, we struggle too in our businesses. There are times we having to actually owe our suppliers every now and then, but eventually you always have to keep up one way or the other. Yeah. So it does happen in business one way or the other. And the most important thing is identify your niche, be honest about your situation and upfront about it. If you don't have it, just say you don't have it. There's no point building castles in the air, because you always get found out one way or the other.
But at a point in time, money will be an issue to start.
Yeah.
So, and if the money comes in, that's when you are able to
do the big things you want.
Put in the qualities that will sustain the money or the business that you want to do. But if you say, like, you have to go in, start it in a way that with, like, be honest, build customer service, then how do you go about it with that way?
All right, so let's just be careful.
Capital is important.
That's right. So let's just be careful not to be looking at a very high-end business. Business starts from the pure water seller on the street. You see someone having freezer, selling waters, you can go, grab the water, come and sell it. Pure water gives 100% profit margin. If you sell maybe 15 bags a day, how much then do you make for 100% margin? Assuming you're working 5 days a week, you multiply that by 4. That margin you make within a month, that alone will be able to be enough for your capital to be able to operate. It's as simple as that. So running a business doesn't have to be you have to go get $50,000 or $20,000. A lot of businessmen that goes around saying we have $20,000, $30,000. They're all lying, really. You know, it's only on borrowed time, borrowed credit, and stuff like that. So I would just recommend the youth not to be looking at the very high end of business when they're going into business or entrepreneurship as new or as a basic. They can start from somewhere. They can sell cocoa porridge. They can sell gobe beans. They can sell water.
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
Look, a typical example. I think about 3 years ago, I walked my wife down to the market. We saw a little girl carrying smoked fish, and we asked how much is selling one. At the time, the little girl was selling the one that has been divided into two for 35 cities.
Okay.
And then that means full one of it will be 70 cities.
Yeah.
Now, I asked him, how much do you have it in oil? He said, this is my 7th times I'm selling. And it was full.
Okay.
And how much is it in a pack? He said, the pack was, I think, around 45. And how much did you buy it for? 700 Ghana cedis. 700 Ghana cedis, and you have about 45 pieces of it. That 45 pieces of it, if you divide that into 2, that is 90 pieces. Okay. Selling one for 35 cedis, do your math and see. For 700 cedis. Okay. That's a lot of money right there. And that lady has been there 7 times already in a day. So right there and then, the lady on the street is already making about 2,000 to 3,000 Ghana cedis a day. In a day. And somebody sitting selling maybe cars could take maybe a month or 2 or 3 before somebody even comes to buy. Yeah. Now, 2,000, 3,000 cedis a day, you multiply by a week up to a month. Just carry on forward. Yeah. So when it comes to business, it's very imperative we look at where the money is. The money is not really about major businesses or entities. The money is all around us. It's what we see. You identify a problem, and then you get solutions to it.
But in recent times, they said where the money is with the food vendors. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, anybody, food, shelter, the good Lord had already said it. Good food, shelter, and this thing. I mean, that's where it is. I mean, you would sleep, you come from a home. So real estate, food you will eat, morning, afternoon, evening.
What about the Airbnbs?
That's real estate as well. Okay. So it's good. Ghanaian, it's an emerging market. The Ghanaians are now beginning to be understanding about what Airbnb means and where it starts and where it's going. Okay. There still needs to be a lot more education about it and stuff like that. Yeah. But to be able to go into Airbnb, you don't really need to own a unit or a house before you go into it. It's just a matter of dialogue.
Get space.
True. And I was recently reading about that. And I think there has to be a lot of education. People have to understand it. Because it's all about, since someone is a real estate developer, the person has an apartment to rather give out. But for me, who doesn't, I can still make a space and also give it out, or you can be sort of like an agent. Yeah. It's a very lucrative
the Ghana Tourism Authority actually said the people who came in last year went for Airbnb more than hotels. Exactly. Yes.
And I think it's the next big thing. We just have to have more knowledge and education about it.
I mean, if we look at it now, it's always been a big thing. Any entity in the world that makes a lot of money don't really own anything. Facebook, Mark. What does Mark own? It's just about connecting people, right? Yeah. What does Amazon do? They don't own anything. It's just about collecting yours, sending it to you. Yeah. What does Airbnb owns? Nothing. They're just connecting buyer and then the seller. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So a lot of people that owns a lot of stuff don't really own anything. So they just not get that really confused. It's really about providing a service. Once that is established, I think we'll be good to that.
Okay, so this one has been quite exciting talking to Lord IBRAHIM SANI, founder and CEO of SANI Group of Companies. And of course, you can hear from the accent, you can, he started from there. But I like the bits about him going to school, degrees in law, psychology, and criminology. Hey,
Hey, how do you know that?
Masters in Business Administration and Management. Hey, you like school? You like school? But anyway, thank you so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate your time. Definitely we could do this some other time again. So we're talking about businesses this morning. I'm sure that you've jotted down a lot of points to use in your business to make sure that your business thrives, and to make sure that it grows from one level to the other.